Yud Aleph Vav. Yud Aleph Vav. If she said, Kona, my figs and grapes with respect to my tasting them, and he confirmed the neder with regard to figs, it becomes confirmed in its entirety. If he revoked the neder with regard to figs, it is not revoked until he revokes it with regard to grapes as well. If he said, Kohanam, figs with respect to my tasting them, and grapes with respect to my tasting them, these are two Nedarim. If a man said, I know that there are Nedarim, but I didn't know that they could be revoked, he can revoke the neder. But if he said, I know that the Nedarim could be revoked, but I did not know that this was a neder, Reb Meir says he cannot revoke it. The comments say, however, he can revoke it. One who is prohibited by a neder to benefit from his father-in-law and he wants to give money to his daughter, he says to her, take this money is given to you as a gift, provided that your husband has no rights in it and that you put it in your mouth. Okay.
Okay, that's interesting. You said father-in-law, and my gear says chatana, which is his son-in-law. But I see the Kahati's gear is chotno, that the gear is that says chotno, which is father. The chatan is the son-in-law, and the chotn is the father-in-law. But it doesn't really matter because it comes down to the same principle anyway.
Okay.
Okay. The neder almanach grusha yakum alea. Okay, so now we're talking. So this is quoting straight out of the pasuk where in Pashas Matos where it talks about nedarim, that the neder of a widow or a divorcee is binding. There's nobody who can revoke it. Okay. Ketzad amra hareini nazira la'achar shloshim yom. For example, let's say the woman says, "I will be a nazira after 30 days." Even though within those 30 days lead time before she becomes a nazira, she gets married, the husband has no right to nullify the vow that was taken before they got married, even though it will only take effect after they're married. Nadra v'hi b'shusaval, meferla, that if she takes the neder while she's married, then he can do hafara. Ketzad haso amra hareni nazira la'achar shloshim yom. And she makes a neder that I will be a neder after 30 days. I'll be a nazira after 30 days. Even though he divorces her or he dies within the 30 days lead period, if he'd already nullified it on the day that he heard it, doesn't get retroactively re-enabled just because she's no longer inside his rishus. Nadra bo bayom, nisgarsha bo bayom, hifzira bo bayom. What happens if she takes a vow and he divorces her and he says, okay, well, that was a really silly reason to divorce my wife. Let me remarry her and then I'll do hafara. Now that also doesn't work because he now cannot do the hafara. Okay, is that klal? So once she's gone into her own domain and she comes back, those are two separate marriages, and he cannot revoke in the first marriage, in the second marriage, what the vows that she took in the first marriage. Okay, good. All right. Mishna Yud is a Mishnah that has no chidushim in it whatsoever. It apparently is just the Yerushalmi explains that this Mishnah was taught just to sharpen people's wits and help them to remember certain principles. But it basically gives a listing of all of the girls whose nedarim cannot be nullified, and it sort of categorizes them in a sort of a logical progression. I'm not going to dwell too much on this Mishnah because it doesn't have any kedushim in it, but I'll just mention as we go along. Okay, so there are 9 girls whose nedarim are binding. Bulgaris is a girl over 12 and a half. So she's an adult effectively. But he is Sama, and she's an orphan, or I think she's an orphan, which is basically that's a girl who's an orphan in her father's home, even, right?
This is a Bulgaris who is an orphan.
Okay, I mean, let's just stick with the pshat that Bulgaris who is an orphan. Nara Ubagra. Okay, so that's one is a Bulgaris who's an orphan. Nara Ubagra Vahi Yisoma. She was a Nara, which is between 12 and 12 and a half, and she became a Bulgaris, and she's an orphan. Okay, Nara Shelo Bagra V'hi Yisoma. So this is all talking about Yisomos. Okay, all of these people, all of these girls are the Nedarim cannot be revoked. Bulgaris Umeisaviha. Okay, she was a Bulgaris when she made the Neder, and then her father died only afterwards. Okay, Nara Bulgaris Umeisaviha. She was a Nara when she made the Neder, then she became older, and then her father died. Or Nara Shelo Bagra Umeisaviha. Or okay, how are these different from the first ones? No, only because the difference is that she made the neder while her father was alive, but subsequently her father died. Nara Shemei Saviha, she was a Nara, and her father died. Ushimi Saviha Bagra, and after her father died, she became a Bulgaris. Bulgaris Avia Kayam. Or what about a Bulgaris and her father is alive? He also can't revoke her vows when she's a Bulgaris. Nara Bulgaris Avia Kayam. She was a Nara when she made the vow, and then she became a Bulgaris, but her father did not, but her father didn't announce it on the day she was a Nara. Okay. Rabbi Yehuda Omer Af Hamasi Bito Hakatana. Even somebody who marries off his daughter while she's a katana, and this almana, and she was widowed or nisgarsha, and she went back to live with her parents because where else is she going to live? But nonetheless, she's technically called in her own rishus, and her father has no rishus over her. Adain hi nara. She's still, even though she's still a nara, her father has no more rishus over her because she has been married. Yeah, not going to dwell too much on that. They know Kedushim. Mishna Yud Aleph. Konam she'eni nenes le'aba v'ulavicha. Okay, so here is where a woman says, "I will not have any." She takes a neder. I will not have any benefit from. Well, I'll not give any. She takes a neder hana on her father or her father-in-law. Im osa ani al picha. If I have to do whatever you tell me to, so she conditions her neder on her husband not telling her what to do, not telling her what she must do inside the house. Or any nenes lach im osani al pi aba al pi avicha. Or she says, I'll make neder hana on you if I do what my father or what your father says. So in this case, the Baal is able to be mefer these nedarim, even though they are regarding other people. Nonetheless, it's Dvarim Sheben. It's got an aspect of Dvarim Sheben or Levena, because it's a disgrace to the husband that because as soon as he tells his wife to do something, suddenly she becomes asur bahana for her father or for her father-in-law. Okay. Or similarly, the other way, it's a disgrace to him that she won't be able to do anything for her father or her father-in-law, so that she doesn't become asur to him. Okay, so even though the neder hasn't even been chal yet because the Tanai hasn't yet happened, nonetheless he's able to do the hafara because it's hanging on this condition that's ben or ben not. Okay.
He can revoke it.
Han?
He can revoke that. He can revoke that.
Yes, he can revoke that. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. So over Shabbos, now we're going to start Nazir.
Nazir. Okay. I was going to ask. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Nedarim Tes Gimel.
Meir says there are things which are like unexpected developments and are not like unexpected developments. The Kakaman, however, do not agree with him. How? If one said, "Kohen, I'm marrying so-and-so because her father is evil," and they told him he died or that he had repented, Kohen, this house with respect to my entering because an evil dog is in it or because a snake is in it, and they told him the dog died or that the snake had been killed. These are the things which are like unexpected developments, but they are not like unexpected developments. The sages, however, do not agree with him. Rameya also said that they can find ground to annul his neder from what is written in the Torah, and they say to him, if you had known that you transgress, you shall not take vengeance, or you shall not bear a grudge, or you shall not hate your brother in your heart, or you shall love your fellow as yourself, that your brother may live with you, Perhaps he will grow poor and you will not be able to support him. Would you have vowed? If he said, had I known that this was so, I would not have made the neder, and then it's permitted. They can't find grounds to annul a man's neder by reason of his wife's ketubah. It happened once that a person made a neder prohibiting benefits from his wife, and her ketubah was 400 dinars. They came before a Rabbi Akiva who obligated him to pay her ketubah to her, and he said to him, Rabbi, father left me 800 dinars, my brother took 400, and I took 400. Is it not enough that she should take 200 and I 200? Rabbi Akiva said to him, even if you have to sell the hair on your head, you must pay her ketubah to her. He said to him, had I known that this was so, I would have made the neder. Therefore, Rabbi Akiva permitted her.
Okay. Kesubos tes.
But we will continue this even though we're doing Nazir. We continue the
Yeah, of course. It's
right, okay.
the Chazar.
There we go. If she produced a bill of divorce but not a ketubah, she can collect a ketubah. If she produced a ketubah but not a bill of divorce, she says, my bill of divorce was lost, and he says, my quittance was lost. And similarly, a creditor who produced a note of indebted but not a prosbol, these are not paid. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel says, since the time of danger, a woman can collect a ketubah without a bill of divorce, and a creditor can collect without a prosbol. If she produced 2 bills of divorce and 2 ketubahs, she collects 2 ketubahs, and 1 bill of divorce, or a ketubah and 2 bills of divorce, or a ketubah, a bill of divorce, and proof of death, and she collects no more than 1 ketubah. For one who divorces his wife and remarries her on the condition of the first ketubah, is he remarries her. A minor whose father had married him off, her ketubah. Okay, this doesn't sound right. A father who married, a minor whose father had married him off. It should say her off. No.
Actually, him. It was with the, and he grew
Oh,
up.
I'm sorry. You're right. I'm sorry. Married him off. Her ketubah remains valid, for he kept her on that condition. If a man converted together with his wife, her marriage contract remains valid, for he kept her on that condition. Okay, and one more. If one was married to 2 wives and he died, the first one takes precedence over the second one, and the first one heirs take precedence over the second one's heirs. If he married the first one and she died, and he married the second one and he died, the second one and her heirs take precedence over the first one's heirs. Okay.
One more.
If one was married to 2 wives and they died, and subsequently he died, and the orphan claims to have the mother's ketubah, but theirs is only enough for the 2 ketubahs, they share equally. If there was a surplus of a dinner, these take their mother's ketubah, and those take their mother's ketubah. If the orphan said, we evaluate our father's property at a dinner more in order that they should take their mother's ketubah, we do not heed them. Rather, we appraise the property in court. Okay. All right, we have Tanis. Megillah. Let's do that. Gimel Hay. How'd you get in? On Pesach, we read the portion of the festivals in Leviticus. On Shavuos, we read the portion of 7 weeks. On Rosh Hashanah, we read the portion of the 7th month. And on the first day, on Yom Kippur, we read the portion of after the death. On the first day of the festival, we read the portion of the festivals in Leviticus. And on all the remaining days of the festival, we read the portion of the sacrifices of the festival. On the 8th day of Hanukkah, we read the portion of the princes. On Purim, we read the portion of and Amalek came. On Rosh Chodesh, we read the portion of on your noon moves. On Namados, we read the portion of the creation. On public fast, we read the portion of the blessings and curses. We may not interrupt the reading of the curses, therefore one person reads them in their entirety. On Mondays, Thursdays, at Mincha, on Shabbos, we read the regular order for portions, but this reading is not taken into account. As it is said, and Moses declared the appointed season of Hashem to the children of Israel, the precept is that each portion should be read at the appropriate time. Okay. And one who reads the Megillah may stand or sit, whether the one person reads it or 1 or 2 read it. They have fulfilled their obligation. Where they are accustomed to recite a blessing afterward, one should recite the blessing. Where the custom is not, then one need not recite the blessing. On Monday, Thursday, on Shabbos afternoon, 3 people read the Torah. We may not decrease them nor add to them, and we do not conclude the reading with a section from the prophets. The one who commences and the one who concludes the reading of the Torah respectively recite the blessings before and after it. On Shabbos, we can add people to the laning. There could be 2 who do the right, but we don't do that at Mincha.
No, not at Mincha. Only you have to be at Mincha. That's it. No more, no less.
Challah. Gimel Zion. No. If one makes dough from wheat and rice, if it has the taste of cereal, it is to challah. And if one fulfills one obligation with it on Pesach, if it has not the taste of cereal, it is not liable to challah, and one does not fulfill one's obligation with it on Pesach. If one takes leaven out of dough which has challah and had not been taken, and puts it into dough from which challah had been taken, if he can provide from elsewhere, he takes according to calculation. But if not, he takes 1 challah for the whole. And likewise, if gathered olives became mixed up with nuka olives, gathered grapes and with gleaners grapes, if he can provide from elsewhere, he takes according to calculation. But if not, he takes truma and truma maisa for the whole, and the rest maisa and maisa sheni according to the calculation.
Okay.
The Gayim. Wood, enough to build a threshold. Rabbi Yehuda says enough to make a sandal behind the threshold. Clay, enough to put between the cracks. Walls of a feeding trough and partition walls do not become tummy from the Gayim. Yerushalayim and outside the land of Israel do not become tummy from the Gayim. How is the house examined? The one who owns the house shall come and tell the Kohen saying, something like a nega has appeared to me in the house. Even a scholar who knows that it is definitely a nega should not decree. A nega has appeared on my house. Rather, he should say, something that appears like a nega has appeared on my house. And the Kohen shall command, and they shall empty out the house before the Kohen comes to examine the nega, so that everything in the house does not become tummy. And then the Kohen shall come to examine the house, even bundles of wood and even bundles of seeds. These are the words of Rabbi Yehuda. Reb Shimon says that the Torah keeping him busy. Is the Torah keeping him busy all clearing out his house? Reb Meir says, what property of his becomes tamei? If you will say his wooden utensils, his clothing, and his metal objects, he immerses them and they become tahor. About which items were the Torah concerned? About his earthenware utensils, his big, small jug, and his oil dropper. If the Torah is so concerned for insignificant property, how much more for his precious possessions? If so, for his money, how much more for the lives of his sons and daughters? And if so, for an evildoer, certainly for a righteous person. Kohen does not go into his own house to confine, nor does he stand inside the house that contains the nega to confine. Rather, he stands next to the entrance of the house that contains the nega and confines as stated. And the Kohen shall leave the house to the entrance of the house, and he shall confine the house for 7 days. He returns at the end of the week and examines the house. If it's spread, then the Kohen commands that they remove the stones that have the nega and throw them outside the city to a tamei place. And they shall take other stones to replace the removed stones, and he shall take the other clay and plaster the house. He does not take stones from the side of the house and build them into the other side, nor does he take clay from this side and build it into the other side, nor does he take lime. 2 stones are not replaced with 1 stone, nor 1 stone with 2, but 2, 3, or 4 stones can be replaced with 2. From here they say, woe to the evildoer, woe to a neighbor, because both owners remove the afflicted stones, scrape around them, and place the new ones. However, he alone brings clay, as it is stated, and he shall take he shall take other clay and plaster the house. His neighbor does not assist him in the plastering. The Kohen returns at the end of the week. That was it? Okay. And Avos. Okay. The mayor says, whoever engages in the study of Torah for its own sake merits many things. Moreover, the whole entire world is worthwhile for his sake. He is called friend, beloved. He loves the omnipresent. He loves his creatures. He gladdens the omnipresent. He gladdens his creatures. The Torah clothes him in humility and fear of God, and he makes him fit to be righteous, devout, fair, and trustworthy person. Distances him from sin and draws him near to merit. and then enjoy from him counsel and wisdom, understanding and strength. As it is said, with me there is counsel and wisdom. I am understanding, with me is strength. It gives him kingship and dominion and analytical judgment. They reveal to him secrets of the Torah, and he becomes like a steadily strengthening wellspring and like a river that does not cease. He will be discreet, patient, and forgiving of insult to himself, and it makes him great and exalts him above all things. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi said, on each and every day a bas kol emanates from Mount Charav, and it proclaims and says, woe to them, to people, because of the disgrace of the Torah. For anyone who does not engage in Torah study is called banned, as it is stated, like a golden ring in the snout of a pig, so is a beautiful woman whose good sense has departed. And it says, the tablets were God's handiwork, and the script were the script of God, engraved upon the tablets. Do not read the word as charis, engraved, but as charis, freedom. This teaches that there is no free person except one who engages in Torah study. And anyone who engages in Torah study is elevated, as it is stated from Matnahu to Nakliel, and from Nakliel to Bamos. He who learns from his colleague or a single chapter, a single law, a single verse, a single word, or even a single letter of Torah must treat him with honor, so that we find in the case of David, king of Israel, who learned nothing from, I'm not going to get this. Thank you. Except for two things. Yet he called him his teacher, his mentor, and his advisor, as it is stated. But you are a man of my measure, my mentor and my advisor. And does not the matter lend itself to a kavakoma? If David, king of Israel, who learned nothing from the king except two things, called him his teacher, his mentor, and his advisor, one who learns from his colleague, one chapter, one law, one verse, one word, or even one letter, how much more must he treat him with honor? And honor is due only for Torah, as it is stated, honor is inherited by the wise, and the perfect inherit good. And good refers only to Torah, as it is stated, for I have given you a good teaching. Do not forsake my Torah. Okay, good. All right, terrific. All right, have a great Shabbos. Enjoy. It's going to be nice and hot. Not hot also. Okay, be well. Bye.